Welcome back to Alt Majority. I'm Shay.
And I'm Shannon. Thanks for stopping by our channel. We're really happy to have you here on our channel. We like to talk about things like spiritual awakening and spirituality, law of attraction, and really we just take these concepts and try to apply them to our lives. We talk about it with each other, and in the hopes that maybe it can help you out in some little way.
Absolutely. So today we will be talking about our fourth episode in our chakra series. We will be talking about the heart chakra, Anahata in Sanskrit.
Yes. The
And
heart chakra. We've been leading up to this. We've talked about the root and the sacral. We did a really good episode on our energy center, but everything it seems like ends up coming back to the heart, doesn't it?
yeah,
It's like the heart, even though we call this our energy center, like this is the heart is really sort of like um, where we end up just interacting with the world
yeah,
through our heart chakra.
yeah. So I heard somebody use the analogy of that the heart chakra is like the center of the mandala. It is
Yeah.
actually the center of all of our. If you see me on, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see me kind of slightly demonstrate this. Otherwise, just try to follow along. Um, if you put your hand on your heart, right, and then you just imagine the swirl that goes up and it hits all your other chakras. So you're gonna hit your third eye, you're gonna come down and hit your root chakra, and then you're gonna come up and hit your throat chakra, and then you're gonna hit your solar plexus and your sacrum there, and then you're going to come up and you're going to end at the heart. And that can be thought of as the
Yeah.
beginning of the mandala, as the end of the mandala, whatever it is. And it's so interesting because so many of these different paths of spirituality, what do they end with is like universal love. That love is the answer, right? So it's the
Yeah.
beginning and it's the end.
Yeah, it's really everything. Honestly, it is. And it's so important to have a healthy heart chakra. And every single one of us has experienced damage to our heart in our lifetimes. Every one of us has. And that's just part of the human journey. So, what we want to talk about today is like how to balance that back. What do you do with this heart damage? What's it look like? How does it express? I mean, we know that our heart, our literal frequency extends from our body 6 or 8 feet coming from our hearts. So, really getting this in balance and really getting this to a healthy place of healing is really what we really want to get to. Because, like I said, every one of us has had some heart damage of some type.
Mhm.
So, really, we hope you can just sink into this with us as we really get into what it feels like to move around in this human body with these heart chakras that are just so influential about our human experience.
Yeah, and the element that corresponds with the heart chakra is air, which is just
Yeah.
all around us, right? It just makes so much sense. This is like where free love comes in, and it's no coincidence that one of the best ways to balance your heart chakra just so happens to be one of my favorite things to do, which is self love.
Yes.
The easiest
Yes.
way.
It's really the only way. And we did a episode a little bit back about like finding your soulmate.
Yes.
Soulmates, right? Or whomever, however that looks like. And it really, we talked so much about the heart chakra because it really comes to that. And it always does, no matter what, comes back to self love. It seems like every conversation we go through, we end up coming back to self love, self power. Um, and part of noticing if your heart chakra is off or imbalanced is really like what's the state of love in your life?
Yeah.
What's it feel like? Do you love yourself? Do you have love in your life from others? Are you allowing your heart to be open? Are you closing your heart off because you're afraid of pain or heartbreak or rejection?
Mhm.
What does that heart chakra look like to begin with? We all have that 7 year download, that beginning of our life, so influential to our hearts. We can enter our childhood with heartbreak. Do you know what I mean? So, and even if you don't, this is a thing you're going to experience. Just again, this is part of it. So, Um, that heartbreak when we look around and we see the state of love in our life, I think it always ends up reflecting what do we feel about ourselves.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. And the heart chakra is also known as the bridge between these lower chakras and the higher chakras. So you can think of it as the connection, how important this center is, connects your mind to your body. And so that is a big piece of what I notice people lacking is just like the self-confidence in themselves, the
Yeah.
ability to just love themselves. And so many people have these two budding forces of their body saying one thing and their mind saying another thing. Well, one way to kind of help the cohesion there and to bring these two parts together is to open up your heart chakra to yourself and to really give yourself that love so that you're able to then look for the relationships that it is you're seeking.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this before, this whole idea of a need based relationship versus a relationship that comes into your life to expand your joy, to expand your
Mhm.
heart.
Yeah.
So, what happens with heartbreak, especially, is we end up getting into these situations where it seems like we're dependent on somebody else's actions
Yeah.
for our own happiness or
Mhm.
somebody else's behavior or decisions. And we get super attached to people, and it's good to love people. I mean, honestly, we're here to be love and we're here to love, right? We know this, but when you find yourself in a situation that feels like it's dependent on somebody else's actions, know that your heart chakra is not balanced. It's not. It's not, because we can't depend on other people to actually decide, are we going to be happy? I mean, we have kind of two choices here, really, with that. On the one hand, we can be without this person that has broken our heart or left our life, and this could be grief, this could be from death, this could be from breakup, this could be from a lot of different things, okay? So we can decide to be without that person and really unhappy, or we can be without that person and happy anyway.
Yeah.
And it's really up to us. We can hold on, and people hold on for years to heartbreak. They never get over things, and they just can't get over it because it's something within them. I mean, remember how we are all actually just a mirror for
Yeah.
each other. We mirror each other. So, why does heartbreak happen? It's just, again, it's part of the human experience of meeting people. Sometimes the frequency matches at some points, and
Yeah.
then in other times in life, it starts to deviate and we don't match anymore. And it's nothing more than that. But we take it so personally.
Yeah.
So personally, when somebody steps out of our life or leaves our life in some way, we think it's us. We are damaged in some way or lacking in some way. And then what we do is just broadcast the lack,
Right.
and then we go chasing. And when you're chasing, it the thing you're chasing runs. You know what I mean? And we also hear a lot about, with law of attraction, people trying to manifest specific people
Mhm.
and manifest love and manifest, my true partner. But like we said last week about, you got to love yourself, and you actually have to have an idea in your head of what you're looking for, and then you have to actually like go for that instead of settling for the same old pattern that you've done over and over and over, where you're just replicating an old pain.
Yeah.
You're replicating it. You're vibrating out this lack. And I don't mean to suggest this is your fault. It's more a matter of, because we co create everything. Okay. Your vibration could be perfect and still someone leaves, right? And it's not you. Okay. I mean that. But when we get into that lack vibration, and we just so attached and we're just chasing and we're looking, all we're seeing is the nothing. All we can see is that we don't have it. And that's all we can focus on. Everywhere we look, other people look happy. People look like they're in love. Look at these people, have their family. These people have their parents. These people have all these siblings. And we just see and we compare and we're like, we don't have that. And all then we attract is more of none of that.
Which,
And so we got to be real careful.
yeah, and part of the heart chakra is this balance between separateness and like that
Yes.
we are separate, but yet we are all one. And there is such particular balance that you have to find within yourself where you keep your individualism, but you also realize that we are all just one, that there is no separateness between you and I, you and that other person, you and whoever it is. And it's
Yeah.
so interesting. I mean, that's how relationships end up in an imbalance, is when something is in balance. You know, the relationships that last is, you can look at it and overall it's pretty balanced. You know, this person picks
Yeah.
up here, this person picks up there, yada yada. But as soon as one person is giving too much and the other person's taking too much or whatever it is, that might just be your clue that your heart chakra is out of balance and that this relationship isn't going to last. And I just want to clarify too that this isn't just relationships with people. This is your relationships with everything in your life has to
Yes.
do with your heart chakra and the balance between you and that object, you and that place, you and that person, you and that thing. This has to do with every single relationship in your life.
Yeah, every single one, every single thing. So it's really important to get to that healing. So when we go through these heartbreaks for whatever reason, it's because, well, the reason is actually we're showing ourselves something.
Hmm.
We really are. And we can look at it in a different way. When somebody breaks our heart, we can end up eventually, hopefully, really thanking them for that experience because they were showing something that we didn't want.
Hmm.
You know, how do we know what we want in life until we get things? So, it's like that idea of like, how can I even have joy if I haven't had some despair to compare it to,
Right.
you know?
Yep.
So, it's like the heartbreak happens, and hopefully we can get to that point of thanking the person for really showing us that we don't need another being to love us. We can love us.
Yeah.
A lot of times, the people that break our heart, they harm us, they betray us, they hurt us, they lie to us, all of those kind of things that hurt so much, that feel so personal, and really just break pieces of our heart off. It seems like
Mhm.
people walk away from us, people, turn their backs, they're not there for us. All of those things are really showing us that that relationship isn't it.
Yeah.
That's not it. Universe is like, is this what you want? And the more we grab onto that and try to change a person's behavior, and only if they would change and only if they would do this, again, I say again, as soon as we're depending on somebody else's behavior for our own happiness and health, um, this is the mistake. This is where we're off. And this is where we really got to circle back and try to get out of our heads on it and go back into the body and
Yeah.
feel the body. And
Yeah.
that's just, when we talk about how to heal heartbreak, that's really one of the ways. Get into the body, do some exercise, move the energy. We've said this over and over, get the energy moving physically out of you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it gets stuck. And
Yeah.
this is where we just close ourselves off. And then we close ourselves off from any other thing the universe is trying to give us because we say, no, that's going to hurt potentially.
Mhm.
Everybody knows the experience. Everyone who's fallen in love, I'll just say this. If you haven't fallen in love, truly fallen in love yet, maybe you don't know yet what I'm saying here, but if you've fallen in love before, all those chemicals, those powerful chemicals running through your brain and body, it is a wave, it's a ride. And it distorts your thinking. It makes it so you can't even have like normal logical thoughts. There's science on this, what happens to your brain when you fall in love. But
Mhm.
it's not maintained, it's not a state we maintain. So we fall in love and we have all these connected connections with the person. We form all these bonds. And over time, those in love type chemicals stop flushing our brains every time person comes around. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's just the natural way of things.
Yeah.
Now you can stay in love for years, but at the same time, you're never going to get that first rush, those moments at the beginning. And so sometimes we don't have that. And then we interpret that as rejection in some way when we start to feel kind of less. I don't feel that. I see they're not feeling that about me. I'm not getting the same. But part of it is just love and relationships, they just change over time. And it changes into something else, a deeper, more intimate type of love, actually, is what it turns into when you get past those initial in love feelings. You
Mhm.
can move to a deeper, deeper part of it. But sometimes we don't get to that. We don't make it to that.
Yeah.
And this is where sometimes heartbreak happens. And we blame ourselves. Why wasn't I better? Why didn't they love me? Maybe I wasn't lovable enough. There's something lacking in me. But what we're really missing is that no, that experience that I had with the person was real at the beginning. It was. We felt it. I felt it. They felt it. But there wasn't anything for whatever reason deeper. It wasn't meant to go beyond that, maybe. The experience that you had, that intense experience of connection was there to show you something. But if it isn't able to transition into more deeper intimacy and more honesty and authenticity, because this is really where it's supposed to go. If it doesn't go there and it stays on that surface, or goes into a point where you're trying to change each other and trying to get each other into if only you would do that and do this. And then we've talked before about controlling behavior of others. Of course, that can get to a point of abuse at some point when you're just so controlling that you need the other person, trying to make the other person do something because that's what you want, because you don't want to lose that. You don't want to lose that connection. So you grab onto it forcefully. So all of these things are part of what sometimes confuses us, and it's almost like we break our own hearts sometimes with false expectations
Hmm.
and like we don't know the person. They don't know us. We're not being authentic. So we stick into these relationships and end up sort of breaking our own heart because they don't end up being what we need or what we want, and we're not able to just be that expansive being of joy where it's a balanced relationship where you're both whole beings. We never get to it. And this is really heartbreaking. So, this is really what we're not taught to go for that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what are we taught in TV shows and movies, these romantic comedies? And it's magical thinking.
Yeah.
It's magical thinking to think that relationships are anything other than um, you know, uh, cycles and patterns of behavior that kind of go over and over and extend and expand over time.
Yeah. The heart chakra is the center of unconditional love. And so
Yes.
you're not going to receive that unless you give it to yourself. We've said this time and time again, and there's no coincidence that they say and they call it chemistry when you meet someone, right? Because it is all those chemicals going on in your head. And I like to think of it like this: our heart chakra emanates, like you said, 6 to 8 feet, which is like that is our largest part of our energetic field right there. So not everybody, but some people have experienced you walk into a room. I like to think of it as my heart chakra is like the feeler, right? And you know who you're going to talk to that night, or you know who you're going to connect with right there and right there. And it's so interesting because the heart chakra, I would venture to say, is probably the easiest chakra to become unbalanced just because of its nature of air, right? Because
Yeah.
of its
Yeah.
element. It's all around us, and it you people feel I feel pain in my heart so easily. It can be elicited from a picture of orphans, or somebody
Yes.
who's hungry. I mean, this is such a sensitive part in our bodies, and it has a lot to do with these chemicals that connect our body, mind, soul, and all those things. But going back to what I said about the feelers, it's like this is where your intuition can come in too, because
Yeah.
there are people in our life that you feel an instant connection with, and they will maybe give you something that you lack, and vice versa. And that's not a bad thing. I don't want to say that um, somebody giving you something that you lack and vice versa isn't bad at all, but it all comes down to, can you unconditionally love that person
Yeah.
no matter what happens, and can you unconditionally love yourself no matter what happens? And that is such not very many people can do that. I don't know if I know anybody who can quite do that off the cusp of their, you know but it's so
Yeah.
important just to remember that it is this unconditional love that you have for yourself before you can even love anybody else. And
Yeah.
And that's really
It's
what it comes
true.
to.
It's true. And it's in loving unconditionally does not mean tolerating
Yes.
behavior that hurts yourself. It doesn't mean being walked over. It's not that. We're not talking about that because we actually, what you said is so important about loving yourself also. If you have unconditional love for yourself, you don't let those types of things in because you have too much worth and you say, I no, I don't think so. And you have real nice tight boundaries and you don't let people come in and walk over you. So we're not saying unconditionally love somebody no matter what they do. And actually, um, in some ways, on the other hand, yes, we are, but that doesn't mean you got to let them in your life.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm saying? You can still cut people out that are not healthy for you. And that is actually almost an actual act of unconditional love to yourself. That's really more important.
Yes.
You know what? And let them be who they are. Let them be. Let
Yep.
them be. And if you can get to a point of unconditionally loving them anyway, regardless of the things they've done, no matter how harmful, good for you. Like Shay said, like, I don't think too many people can get to that. But if you can't, at least get to that with them. Get it, get to it with you. Get
Yes.
to it with you. Because you're not going to get someone into your life that loves you unconditionally unless you love yourself unconditionally.
Yep.
And that's accepting your flaws, that's accepting your weaknesses, that's accepting your strengths, that's accepting your shadow, that's
Yep.
accepting your dark thoughts, that's accepting the things that you've done that only know you've done that you don't feel great about. It's that stuff that you say to yourself, wow, this is just part of my character. This is part of my development. This is part of life. This is part of growing. And yes, I've made mistakes, but I'm still going to love myself. I'm still going to, forgive myself for all those things. That doesn't mean I have license to do them again
Yep.
either.
Yep.
We're not just going to give ourselves passes for
Yeah.
our bad behavior and just be like, well, I just love myself. Okay, yes. But know if you harm others and take responsibility for any harm you do to others. That's another part of learning to balance your heart chakra out. Take responsibility for the heartbreak you've caused.
Yes.
Own that. Own the bad actions that you've done when you've actually broken somebody's heart, when you've actually hurt somebody.
Yeah.
You can't really actually heal within yourself till you've done that. And, even if you can't get to the actual person, write them a letter, send them a prayer, do it in your heart. You know what I mean? Because when you're carrying around any type of, you know, I don't know, bad feelings for somebody, it really is a vibration inside of you that brings yours down,
Yeah.
regardless of who and what they've done. And I know that's hard sometimes because people do terrible things to others, but it is part of healing the heart chakra to be able to just own what's yours, forgive yourself, forgive others, and just get back to again what we said at the very beginning. What's the state of love?
Yeah.
What's the state of love like within me, within my life? What's it look like? And I want it to get to be good. I want it as good as I can. I want that beautiful, good, blissful feeling.
And the heart chakra is a center of balance. I mean, we said balance like so many times throughout this, but it really is just knowing when to give and when to take. When you feel depleted, can you take a step back and not give so much just so that you can regenerate
Mm.
yourself? And yeah, there's just such balance in all types of relationships, everything that you interact with. It's just so interesting.
Yeah, it's so interesting how we walk around with like really damaged kind of hearts, chakras and damaged energy. And what we end up doing is passing that on to others. And that's the other reason why we really want to handle it because we don't want to be passing it on. We don't want to be doing the cycles over and over.
Yeah.
We want to break those cycles of behavior, break the cycle of like doubt and lack of self-worth within ourselves because we don't want to perpetuate it. We don't want to pass it down to our children. If we have children that we're caring for, we really don't want to damage their heart. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be passing it down, but until we are able to really heal our own heart and own our own wounds and just heal them instead of sitting in them and using them as currency for why we are miserable or why we can't do that and why I can't go for that, why I can't have that because I got a heart wound. Yep.
Yeah.
But everything can be healed. Everything can
is the
get to that state.
yeah, love is
If we allow, we have to allow.
mhm. Love is the greatest healer, and I just want to talk a little bit about what it looks like to have an overactive heart chakra. Might be that you are somebody who gives and gives and gives, lets yourself get depleted, and doesn't have that self-care, and somebody, somebody who's kind of like a doormat, just allows people in and just deals with it. Somebody who has an underactive might be someone
Yeah.
who lets nobody in, who doesn't allow
Right.
love because they're scared or they're afraid or they've seen a pattern or they've been downloaded a pattern about how you're
Yeah.
supposed to react with people and what love really looks like. And that's what it comes down to too, is like we have all this conditioning around what love is supposed to look like. When you were talking about the movies and books people
Right.
read, it's like that's not even a great depiction at all of what true intimacy and true unconditional love looks like. And I would venture to say, where do we learn unconditional love for ourselves? We're not taught that in schools. These books are saying look for it elsewhere, that you can't find love unless you're in relationship with something else.
Right.
So here's your invitation just to do some heart work on your own. And it comes back, you said this earlier in the episode too, just come back to your own body and just ask yourself
Yeah.
how you're feeling and just witness and just notice the connection that you have between your own mind, heart, and body. And can you hear what's going on in there? Are you having troubles? And that'll tell you whether or not you're having some blockages. And
Yeah.
it's going to allow you to then step up or step back, whatever it is you need to do to really protect your own energy.
Yeah. And there's things we can do physically to open our heart up. We
Hmm.
can. I mean, there's breathing exercises. We can breathe into the heart. There's yoga we can do. We can do moves that actually open our heart up and try to just get the energy moving out of there. We can
Yep.
have a good cry. I
Yep.
mean, wow, the chemicals that go through your body after you just let it out and just had a good, just sob. You know what I'm saying? Just let it go. Be somewhere by yourself. You don't have to worry about what you're looking like or anything. Just
Mhm.
cry it out.
Yep.
Let it go. Get it out of you. Yeah, stuff hurts sometimes. Feel it. Because when you don't allow to feel, that's the other thing that really gets gets the damage in your heart going, gets that stuck energy. Is like, I don't want to feel that. It's so unpleasant that
Yep.
I just refuse to go through it. And it doesn't leave your body at that point then. It stays. It
Yep.
stays.
Yep. And another thing I would
So
say is every time you set a boundary with another person, a thing, whatever it is, you're just providing an example for that person or for that thing of what unconditional love looks like. And isn't that what we're all searching for anyway? And so I know that even in my own personal life, there's been times where I still love this person, but I know that it's not right for me to be in their energy field right now, and that they have some work to do. I have some work to do. And it is a hard decision, right? To separate yourself and to
yeah,
come back home to yourself. But sometimes that is what's necessary. And that is still love. It's still love to know when to step away and to give people space and to, pour your energy back into yourself. So I
yeah,
know a lot of people and I have in my life been confused about that at times. It's like I still love this person, or I would still love for the situation to turn out a certain way, but you have to be realistic with yourself and how are things going and how do you really feel? How do you really feel? You can feel love along with other emotions. And
yeah,
so just like tuning into that heart space and recognizing what it is you have to do is not always easy, but is necessary to just protect your own self, but also to protect that person that you love too. I think of
yeah,
somebody who um, has the best intentions in their heart, but their actions aren't meeting what they're saying. Well, that's somebody that you might need to build a wall in between, right? You might need to build
yeah,
boundaries, and you can still send them love, and that's okay. You don't have to like completely cut a person off, right? But it's all about doing what's right for you is going to just reflect to them that they need to do the right thing for themselves as well. We are all mirrors.
yeah. And if not, honestly, that's kind of their problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
You worry about you, care about how you feel, care more about how you feel than they do. And I know it sounds selfish, and that doesn't mean that you do selfish acts.
Right.
All I'm saying is if it feels off and you feel in your heart something's off, listen to yourself.
Yeah.
Something's off then, listen to yourself. You're the prize. You're the most important one. You're the one. We've said this over and over. You're the one that you got to live with.
Yeah.
So, part of healing the heart is really just owning that, just owning your own ability to love yourself.
Yeah.
It's the what do you say to yourself? It's how do you talk to yourself? All of those really important ways that we end up interacting with ourselves.
Yes.
I mean, you were talking about, the balance. We've said it over and over, but the balance within our whole entire beings is going to be off
Yeah.
if that center, as you described us going around that circle there, if the center is off, our whole being's off. And we know that. We've all felt that when your heart is low, when you have the heavy heart. Wow, it affects everything. It can
Yeah.
affect your whole day, it can affect your whole month, your whole year when you're carrying that heaviness around in you. So you don't need to carry that anymore. Give yourself permission to let it go.
Yeah.
Give yourself permission to be the different person you'll be without that.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
one exercise that I love to do, and I called you about this a couple weeks ago, was I was inhaling, arms rise up over your head. Exhale, bring your hands to the center of your heart and release through your hands any energy that's no longer serving you. And you can do this as many times as feels good. And
Right.
it's super important to recognize the connection between things, right? So you put your arms perpendicular to the ground below you. It's a cross right to your heart, your hands, and so your hands are these
Yeah.
super special centers connected to your heart where you can release energy from your palms of your hands to your fingertips. Use what you got to release what you don't need.
Yeah, most definitely. If you're into crystals, I mean, you're going to look at, I've got some rose quartz on right now, but also the greens. And really, you'll see that in like when you see the rose of chakra beads, usually you'll see like a green fluorite or adventurine or something
Yeah.
for the heart. So those are the colors, the crystals that maybe will help you. Just hold them. Just feel. It's like just feel like the golden light.
Yeah.
Just feeling your body. Just feeling just the healing. You can heal yourself. Your body knows how to heal.
Mhm.
It knows what a good balanced state is. It wants to go there. And actually, the uneasy feeling you're feeling is your heart telling you something's off because it wants to get back to that good feeling. We want the feeling of, the contentment and peace and joy. And we have to be willing to allow it and move the energy out that doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And I know that's not always easy because sometimes that means letting go and letting someone or something or some situation go that you've put a lot of energy into.
Yeah.
But you're going to feel so much better when you get to the point of being able to truly let that go.
I think that's such an important word to go with the heart chakra is just letting, accept,
Yeah, let
you know,
acceptance.
it's air. It's just
Yeah.
wow, and really just feel into what needs to happen and just allow that too. The universe has your back and is gonna give you exactly what you need. All you have to do is let it, allow it.
Yeah. I mean, in our very first episode, we talked about what are we doing here? And I said, we're here to be loved,
Yes.
to be loved, to not just give love or show love or receive love. We're here to be love.
Yes.
And in order to really be love and just serve our fellow humans who are truly ourselves, because they're just mirrors of us, they're just different aspects of us.
We really have no separation.
Yeah, we have no separation. So, in order to really be love, we got to care about our hearts and
Yes.
we got to really take care of them the best we possibly can so that we can interact and do the best for not only ourselves, but the ones we love and the whole world,
Yeah,
the whole universe.
absolutely. I would love to just wrap up this episode with, if you have the ability to sit up nice and tall and place both your hands on your heart, we're going to take a deep inhale and inhale into that heart space. And you can repeat out loud or in your mind, I love unconditionally. Breathe into your heart space once more and repeat, I love unconditionally. And one more time, breathe into your heart space. I love unconditionally. When you're ready, open your
Beautiful.
eyes, release your hands. I am
I love that
ready.
so much. Well, thanks for spending this time with us. We really appreciate, again, every single moment you spend with us. Um, you might be watching us on YouTube. You might be listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast. We're grateful for wherever you're giving us your attention.
Yeah.
So feel free to check out our other episodes. We're here every single Monday. And we're again, so glad to share this time with you. Thank you, Shay, also for sharing this time with me. It's always just a joy to be with you.
Yes, you fill up my heart. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, listeners, for being here with us. We will see you next Monday.